What is good, y'all? Thank you for joining us here for the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, the year of our Lord 2025. And of course, we're going to get into Zelensky's meltdown in the Oval Office. It happened right after we finished up our live on Friday. And so the title of that show was President Trump is a Deal Maker in Chief. And kind of threw a monkey wrench into that, but I think it's still going to happen at some point in some form. But we'll get into that. We'll get into the Epstein files debacle and another executive order that shouldn't even have been necessary and should have already been the law of the land. But here it is now. So we'll get into all of that and more if we have time. But thank you for joining us here on the SHR Media Network. And you can follow us on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or X, Truth Social, and TikTok, even though we're not really active, excuse me, over there as much as I would like to be. But we'll try and figure that out. But for our merch, head over to missionreadymen.com. Click Shop 7 Armors and check out this design, Liberty or Death, and or any of the other great designs that we have over there. Let's see, anything else? Nope, I think that's it. So let's get after it. Zelensky. Zelensky had an epic meltdown in the Oval Office. And I love all these people who say that what Trump and J.D. Vance did was shameful and they were bullying him and they set him up and it was an ambush and all this other nonsense. That's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. Trump has made it clear from the beginning, he campaigned on it, that he wants peace. He wants peace. And so his goal is to end the war. And Zelensky, when he showed up, towards the end, the first 40 minutes of that press conference or that gaggle in the Oval Office, it was fine. Zelensky clearly had some things going on. I kind of think he was on some sort of substance. I'll just speculate on that and leave that there. But yeah, he showed up and that was and it was fine. He had his costume on, and I use that word purposefully because he was asked about wearing a suit and claimed that the suit was a costume. But just his whole demeanor, even though the press conference, the appearance went fine, the whole thing was just disrespectful. And then towards the end, the last 7 to 10 minutes, it just descended into a debacle, and he was completely disrespectful. He's used to coming to the Oval Office and pretty much getting whatever he wants. He's used to coming to Washington and getting millions, billions of dollars and jetting back off to wherever he goes to spend that money, because we all know that a lot of it hasn't made it to hasn't made it to the front lines, hasn't made it to where it needs to go to help them win this war. And I really don't think that winning is his ultimate goal, but that's a whole other story. But one of the things that really struck me after that debacle was, well, it turns out that there are some people in Ukraine who do not support him. And right after that, there was a report that they are trying to impeach him. Zelenskyy is facing impeachment. And a lot of leftists claim that Trump bullied Zelenskyy and set him up, and it was an ambush, as I said. And I I thought about that, and I thought maybe. But then when I saw the report about Zelenskyy possibly being headed for impeachment in Ukraine, my thought went to, well, did they have a heads up? Did Trump and Vance have a heads up? Did they know that something like that could be in the works? And did they purposefully bait him? Maybe. It's possible. I the more time that passes, the less convinced I am of that. And I don't know. The whole thing is just the whole thing is just a complete mess that Trump is trying to extricate us from. He Zelenskyy. There are reports that he has the support of the people, but he's also he's also suppressed the media and consolidated it into one entity that he controls. So who knows? And he's kidnapping people off the street to conscript them into fighting his war. I don't know. He's done a lot of things that dictators do. Shut down churches, shut down media. So maybe the whole maybe the whole impeachment thing is legit. Maybe Trump had a heads up. I don't know. We'll see. But I do know this, that Zelenskyy was caught. He was caught off guard a little bit because, like I said, he's used to coming to Washington and collecting a ton of money and pretty much getting everything he wants from the leftists and the neocons who are in charge. And this time he didn't get it. He's faced with the prospect of having to give up something in order to get something, and that's not something he's used to from the American government. And his friend Lindsey Graham even threw him under the bus. And I don't trust Lindsey Graham as far as I can throw him. Because he's been such a champion for Zelenskyy over the past few years. Doing a 180 the way he did kind of suggests that there's something else going on. And Tucker Carlson posted something right after that. And he made a number of claims in his post that I haven't had a chance to research, so I can't speak on them specifically. But he made the case that there may be some information coming out that Lindsey Graham is trying to get ahead of to further throw Zelenskyy under the bus. So there's that. I mean, there's so much to unpack with this whole thing. And I mean, I could spend the entire hour plus going over everything, and we don't really have time for that. But I did want to get to this one thing, because once he got thrown out of the White House, and he did get thrown out of the White House, after that meltdown, Walz and Rubio said, yeah, you got to go. And so he went, he did his interview with Fox, which I'm sure was pre-planned. And he refused to apologize. Bret Baier asked him if he should apologize, and he said no. He said no, he didn't do anything wrong. So we know where that's going to go. But then he hopped back over to the UK, where he met with Keir Starmer and a bunch of NATO and EU leaders. And let me see if I have that picture. But he met with all these leaders, and all of that was clearly pre-planned as well. because you don't all of those people together and on a short notice like that. I mean, it was the very next day when he arrived in the UK that he when he arrived in the UK that he had this meeting with all of these leaders. And just look at this. Look at all of these leaders. We have Keir Starmer, Zelenskyy, the Prime Minister of France, Justin Trudeau, Giorgia Meloni, and some foreign ministers from Germany and I think Sweden. I don't recognize a lot of these people, but you don't get this kind of you don't get this kind of turnout spur of the moment. This was planned, and I don't. These people, you would think after the previous 4 years when Trump was in office, you would think that they would have some idea of how to approach Trump. And this wasn't it. And we had Keir Starmer yammering about putting boots on the ground in defense of Ukraine. But all of it being backstopped by the United States. Do they really think Trump is going to go for that? Do they really think this was going to move Trump in their direction? Do they really think that was going to get Trump to soften his stance in any way? I mean, read the room. Look back at the previous 4 years. Just look at what he's done since he's taken office. Do they not know who they're dealing with? Clearly they don't. And one other thing I want to get to before we move on, because I've already spent a little more time on this than I really wanted to. A lot of these leftists are talking about how Trump is Putin's puppet. And the Cato Institute, not a right-wing bastion by any stretch of the imagination, came out with an article back when this was first all the rage, saying that he was Putin's puppet, outlining how there is not a single shred of evidence to suggest that Trump is sympathetic to Putin in any way. And then there's this, because I think this clip right here, Piers Morgan reposted it. It's a part of an interview he did with Bill Clinton years ago, talking about his relationship with Putin. And well, just take a listen to this, and then we'll
Look, Mr. Putin he's very smart.
Well, you know him better than most people.
Yeah, I do.
What was he like behind closed doors, away from, the sort of the public utterances?
Smart and remarkably, we had a really good, blunt relationship.
How blunt?
Brutally blunt.
Ever fisticuffs?
No, but I think the right strategy most of the time but it's frustrating to people in your line of work. You should be brutally honest with people in private. And then if you want them to help you, try to avoid embarrassing them in public.
Right.
Now, sometimes they do things which make it impossible for you to keep quiet. But by and large, I found all the people I dealt with appreciated it if I told them the truth. How I honestly felt and what our interests were and what our objectives were. And they also appreciated it when I didn't kick them around in public for as long as I couldn't kick them around. So that's my experience. And
did Putin ever renege on a personal agreement he made to you?
He did not.
So behind closed doors, he could be trusted.
He kept his word in all the deals we made. Look,
I don't recall anyone during Clinton's presidency saying that Clinton was a Putin puppet, when he's outlining the exact same approach to Putin that Trump is employing. And because he refuses to call him names, because he refuses to call out any of his actions in public, in the public eye, because of that, he's a Putin stooge, he's a Putin puppet. It makes no sense. And here's the other thing. Vladimir Putin he's a dictator. He's a thug. There's no question about that. He's a former KGB, FSB operative. He's violent. He has hurt and killed his opponents. This is all true. He's obviously not above violence. But compared to Stalin, Vladimir Putin is a teddy bear. I mean, talking to dictators, when it's in the interest of the United States, is not, and when it's in the interest of the United States and it minimizes the chances of war, is not unheard of in our history. Of course, I know history is something that the left loves to avoid, but Stalin, he killed 20 million of his own people. Putin is putting up little league numbers compared to that. I mean, not even rookie numbers. Putin's playing t-ball compared to Stalin. Seriously. And we had a formal alliance with the Soviets, with Stalin, because both entities, both countries, had an enemy in Nazi Germany. Was that not the right thing to do? Richard Nixon, he had talks with Mao Zedong. And he is the most prolific serial murderer in the history of the world. 70 million people. 70 million people. And Nixon was trying to talk to him to try and get some play them off against the Soviet Union at that time. So was Nixon Mao Zedong's puppet? Nobody has ever suggested anything of the sort. But the whole thing is Trump, orange man bad. That's it. That's anything anything that Trump says is automatically, reflexively countered by the left. If he says it, they are going to say the complete opposite. I saw a meme where Trump is saying something, saying how good oxygen is, and then leftists have a bag over their heads. And that's what they do. That's what they do, and it's so funny to see. I got into it with somebody on social media, and it's like y'all can go join the Ukrainian National Guard if you want to. If it's that important to you, if the Ukrainian sovereignty is that much of a big deal to you, then go pick up a rifle and stand a post over there. put your money and your booty behind where your mouth is. But they won't do that because they don't have the guts. They don't have the backbone. They don't have the, they're not principled enough to do anything like that. Anyway, that's it's a little more time than I wanted to spend on that, but that's part of my take on the whole thing. There's, like I said, there's plenty more we could get into, but I wanna move on because something else that happened. We talked about last time about the whole Epstein files debacle, where they had all these social media influencers show up at the White House and gave them these binders with all this information in it that was supposed to be this big bombshell that turned out to be a giant nothing burger. And a lot of people have been giving some of the influencers like Chad Prather and DC Drano and Shia Raichik from Libs of TikTok, giving them a hard time, saying that they're falling in line with the White House and no better than the American province, stuff like that. That's not my take on it. I don't think that's true at all. All those people had been invited to the White House weeks prior to that. They were there for something completely different. When they got there, they thought they were there for something else, and this got sprung on them, and they got handed these binders, and it was a huge backfire on Pam Bondi's part. That was so mishandled, and I don't know that she survives this. I think I said that the last time. I don't think she survives this. I think this is going to haunt her for her entire tenure as Attorney General. And so she caught all these influencers off guard with this binder, and then all the pictures that you see of them holding up these binders, that caught them off guard too. They could have gone out any other exit, but Pam Bondi, from reports that I've heard, Pam Bondi told them to go out this door, and that's where the media was to ambush them. And ambush might be a strong word, but that's how that all played out. That's how that all came to be. And I don't blame any of those influencers. Liz Wheeler, Chad Prather, DC Drano, Rogan O'Hanley, Shia Raichik, and there were a few others that I don't really recognize or can't remember. But they were blindsided by that. And the more time that passes since that happened, the more I place the blame on Pam Bondi, and the more skeptical of her I become. I've never trusted her because of her stances on the Second Amendment, because of the things that she's done to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. Like I said before, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt because Trump nominated her. But this whole thing was just a disaster from the word go. Because I think I'd said this before, on last Friday, if she thought information was being withheld, and now she said, I think yesterday, that a truckload of Epstein files was delivered on Friday. Okay, she said it yesterday when it was 3 days prior. She couldn't have said, yes, they delivered it and we're going through it. She waited. It's just everything about the way she's handling this is wrong. just wrong. And so the more time that passes and the more she keeps screwing this up, I really don't think she's going to survive the entire 4 years of Trump's presidency as Attorney General. Because if this is what she's doing with something so important, something that the American people have been asking for so long, and this is how she handles it, and she keeps screwing up, I have to wonder about her competence, honestly. And I know she's been successful and things like that, and she has a reputation as a good lawyer, good litigator. But what's going on? What, you don't screw up this much, this quick, if you're as good as everyone seems to think you are. So I blame Pam Bondi for this, and I hope that Kash Patel is going through. I hope that those somebody in chat just said, I think it's BZ, just said, let's give her a break. She's not Jeff Sessions. And she's not Barr. This is true. This is true. But she's still got a lot of ground to make up from this. A lot. And I don't know that she can do it. And like I was saying, I hope that Patel is actually going through. I hope that those files were delivered. I hope that he actually is going through them. And I hope that there actually is something to find. Because if the Southern District of New York did withhold this information, they did it for a reason. And all of a sudden, they're just going to turn it over just because the head of that office resigned. I don't know. And I know that there are redundancies, and I know that there are systems in place, and I know that information on the FBI systems can't just disappear. But for as long as they've had it, I'm sure they can manipulate it somehow. I'm sure some things can get buried to the point where, unless you know where to look, you may not be able to find. I mean, who knows? Who knows? And I don't trust Pam Bondi to get to the bottom of it. I trust Patel for the time being, and I think he's gonna do a good job. But if the people below him did some dirt to hide all this stuff, who knows? Who knows? No matter how competent he is, no matter how much of a bulldog he is on, and who he's only going to be able to do what he can do. And I think Pam Bondi put him behind the 8 ball. So we'll see how that plays out. I am very, very interested, because this is one of the most important things that as AG she could have done, and she screwed it up royally. All right, let's move on. I want to get you a word from our sponsor this week, Patriot Mobile, or today, Patriot Mobile. It is more important than ever, really, to support companies that share our values. Votes are great. Voting is great, but it's not enough. We have to get involved in the parallel economy. And Patriot Mobile not only shares our values and our beliefs, but they actually do something about it. They are on the front lines. They are working with Yakubuyans down at the border to fight against human trafficking. They're working with pro-life organizations to stop the murder of innocent babies. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless carrier, and they donate a portion of every dollar that you spend with them to organizations that fight for the causes that you care about. So switch to Patriot Mobile now and get a free month of service with the offer code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call and text you make. Go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use the promo code Jackson today. All right, y'all. I am Biggie, and you're watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch Sackhead Sean with the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. He's been a little under the weather, but he is going to be back on Friday. And you can also catch BZ with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. Please like and subscribe to those great shows. Share all those great shows. Subscribe to the SHR Media channel. I think we're 68 away from 500, which will loosen up some of the algorithmic restrictions that we have on us. And also pray for us. Pray that we reach as many people as we possibly can. It's been working. We've been seeing the numbers trend upwards lately, and I'd like to thank you all for your prayers and your support, and keep it going. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things that the social media tech tyrants hate for us to do. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. I want to touch on something real quick, and it's something that I've brought up before, and I don't have a whole lot of time to get too deep into it, but it's something that was on my mind, and I just wanted to bring it to you again in hopefully a slightly different way. But it's why I want to explain why I became a Christian and why I believe the Bible. And you've probably heard me say it before, and it's something that I will periodically, I should say, share this because I think it's worth repeating. People who know me know my story about my illness and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into the whole thing again, but it did facilitate my conversion to Christianity. And it's not because it's how I was raised, even though that's how I was raised. It's not because it was just something new to try because things weren't going well or anything like that. I know a lot of people say that, and maybe that's true for some people. Maybe that works for some people. But it's not really a coherent. It's not really a coherent reason from my perspective. I became a Christian after that just because it became very real to me. And as I started reading the Bible, and getting in touch with the Word of God, I started studying and researching and listening to people who had much longer tenures as Christians and Bible scholars and things like that. Bible scholars like my dad, and he has a podcast every weekday at 7:30 Eastern on YouTube and Instagram. So check him out, EW Jackson for America. But I started listening to people and getting deeper into studying the Word of God. And I heard an explanation that really stuck with me. And it goes something like this. The Bible is a reliable collection of historical documents written by eyewitnesses at the time, 40 different men, written during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. And that spans a period of 1,500 years, 3 continents, and at least 3 languages. And these documents, they report supernatural events that fulfilled specific prophecies from the Old Testament. Now, that's not something that I came up with on my own, obviously. That is something that I picked up from some of the, like I said, scholars that I started to watch and listen to and study myself. And the first time I heard that explanation, it was like a key unlocked in my head, and it became even more real to me, I guess you could say, because as men, we operate in a realm of facts. We operate in a realm of evidence. We operate in reality. And I know a lot of people will say that the Bible is a fantasy, that Christianity is worshiping an imaginary sky daddy and all this other nonsense. And you're free to believe that if you want. I'm here to tell you that that's not the way to go. I'm here to tell you that the Bible is real, Christianity is real, heaven is real, and hell is hot. So if you want to avoid that, then maybe pick up the Bible, maybe figure out if you really like that heat, if what you're doing that is against the teachings of the Bible is worth it. Some people think that. Some people believe that. I don't, and I don't want to be the reason why some people, because I didn't tell them hell was hot, I don't want to be the reason why some people end up there. So that's my that's my sermon for today. We're going to get into some deeper aspects of it as time goes on, but there's just been so much coming down the pike from a news perspective that I want to make sure I get some of that in as well. But I also want to make sure that I stay on the mission that we've set forth for ourselves, that God has set forth for me in terms of getting His word out. So that's going to be where we'll end that today, and then we're going to pivot because I want to get into a few other things. We are running a little short on time, and there's a few other things I want to get into. So let me pull this up real quick because President Trump signed an executive order that I really can't believe that it wasn't already something that was an executive order or that had been passed into law or even in the Constitution itself at some point. And that is, he signed an executive order designating English as the official language of the United States. And I don't know about you, but as an American, when I call, especially a government agency or something, I don't want to press 1 for English. I speak English. This is the United States of America. We speak English. If you go to any other country in the world, you are expected to know their language. Now, touristy stuff aside, where they cater to people from all over the world, and they have English speakers and things like that. That's one thing. But if you just go to another country, like all these people, there's this actress, some actress that nobody's ever heard of, on the red carpet at maybe the Oscars, maybe whatever the case. She's said a couple of times that Black people need to consider moving to Africa. She'll never go because she's a rich actress, or at least well off. I don't know how rich she is, because like I said, I never heard of her. But if you do that, you better learn the language wherever you go. When you go to Spain, or when you go to France, or when you go to Germany, or wherever you go, and you end up in a place that's not for tourists, you better learn the language. You better learn the language. And for some reason, the United States has never adopted that attitude. And we're one of, I think, only 12 countries, 12 to 15 countries in the entire world where we don't have an official language, or we didn't. Every other country in the world, except for, like I said, 12 to 15, has an official language. And if you go to those places, you better have an interpreter, or you better stay in a tourist trap where they speak English, because otherwise you're going to be out of luck. And finally, President Trump signed this executive order that says English is the official language of the United States. From the founding of our republic, it says, English has been used as our national language. Our nation's governing documents, including the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, have all been written in English. It is therefore long past time, absolutely is, that English is declared as the official language of the United States. A nationally designated language is at the core of a unified and cohesive society, and the United States is strengthened by a citizenry that can freely exchange ideas in one shared language. Exactly. Because here's the thing. If you go to these Scandinavian countries, they're homogeneous. So they all look the same. They all have the same language. They all have the same values. Because the United States has imported so many people from so many different cultures, there has to be something that binds us all together. And if we allow people to come into this country and speak all different languages and and wave all these different flags, there's never going to be any cohesion. There's never going to be any unity. So declaring English the official language of the United States is perhaps the only thing that, aside from everybody becoming a Christian and worshiping Jesus Christ, which I pray that happens, but I'm realistic enough to know that it won't. But designating a language as an official language is the best, most efficient, easiest way, and probably, like I said, the only way to foster any type of shared values, cohesion, unity, anything like that. And I think this was, like you said in that executive order, way past time for us to do that. Way past time. And I'm here for it. It's, to me, it's another win. It's not as flashy as some of the other ones we've had, but it is another win. And what I really hope is that it, I don't see it getting, I don't see a constitutional amendment for that, just because I think that so many leftists are going to be reflexively against it because it comes from Trump and because they're just stupid. But I can see, given Trump's political capital right now, that we have the majorities in the House and Senate. I hope somebody steps up and decides to codify this into law. We shall see. We shall see if the Republicans actually have the spine to do some of the things legislatively that need to be done. I'm not so convinced at the moment. I'm really not, and that's sad. A couple of other things. We only have 12 minutes left. A couple of things I want to get into. I want to mention. For some reason, the left is still bent on having dudes participate in women's sports. It's so obvious to anyone with eyes and two functioning neurons. It's obvious to see that dudes just do not belong in women's sports. They have such an advantage. Size, strength, speed, you name it. And yeah, they'll cite these anomalous wins that women have over these dudes or whatever. You can't make a policy on that exception. You can't say, well, 1 out of every 1,000 times a woman competes against a man, she'll win. Well, come on. That's just stupid. Who knows what happened that one particular time when 999 other times the dude just destroyed the field of women. It doesn't make any sense. And so a transgender, and I hate using that word, I just read it, gender diluted dude, high school track star, he beat the female competition in the triple jump by 8 feet. By 8 feet. Now, if you've never watched a triple jump, you know what? It doesn't really matter. 8 feet. This dude beat the woman who jumped the furthest. He beat that by 8 feet. That's insane. That is. Let's take a look at this because it is. I don't even know. It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that I can't believe we're even having this discussion.
Oh my God.
Hernandez of Rupa Valley High School. Amazing 3 wins today. What was the SMR?
SMR, long, triple, and then I have high later.
And you still got the high jump. Amazing performances
Thank
so
you.
far. How are you feeling just about how the day went today at the Ontario Relays?
Very excited. I don't know. I did not, after long, I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to do as good as triple, but I'm glad that I performed pretty well, and I'm just excited.
That- Seriously? Seriously. Dude dyed his hair and grew it out. He did some work on his voice. I'll give him that. But that is a dude. That is 100% dude. With all the advantages of all the testosterone that he got during puberty. And he just beat a woman in the triple jump by 8 feet.
What do you think really clicked today, Pooja?
That you're
I
a
don't know.
dude.
I think I was really nervous. I was so nervous. Like, just jump good, please. After coming off of the big win at Arcade.
No, anyway, enough of that. Just, I don't understand how these people think this is okay. I really don't. I really, really don't. There are some leftists, however, who see what's going on and actually are willing to do some self-reflection, are willing to do a post-mortem on what's happening with the Democrat Party. And they had a retreat where they tried to diagnose what is happening and come up with some ideas to try and fix it. And it was called the Third Way Comeback Retreat. And this is a document that they came up with. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's a few pages long, but this is some of what they came up with. Takeaways on why the Democrats have a cultural disconnect with the working class. Overemphasis on identity politics, failure to prioritize economic concerns, weak messaging and communication, fear of dissent within the Democrat Party, and attachment to unpopular institutions. Okay, but here's where it gets good. Allowing the far left to define the party. This is one of the few things that I agree with on this document. And I hope that none of the Democrat Party actually take this seriously. I really don't. Because if they actually sit down and try and incorporate any of this, they could have somewhat of a resurgence. As long as they have AOC and Jasmine Ratchet leading the way, I don't think that's going to happen. Here's some takeaways on why Democrats are not trusted in by the working class on the economy. Vilification of wealth, yes. Wealthy people are automatically, I mean, somebody just, I think it was Hassan Piker, he just basically issued a directive to his followers to kill, I want to say a senator. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but basically, yeah, he just issued a directive to kill a sitting U.S. senator. And Elon Musk has faced death threats, and we just not too long ago had that the CEO of United Health murdered, and everybody was celebrating that. Everybody on the left, anyway. Disconnected messaging, no clear economic vision, over prioritization of social issues, failure to own mistakes. And people see Republicans as the aspirational party. And it goes on, and I'll have a link to this in the show notes where you can see it. It is, I think they have I think they came up with some decent points in this thing. I do not see the left embracing any of it, not anytime soon. And I couldn't be happier about that. I really couldn't. One last thing I wanted to get you out of here on. Apparently the Oscars were last weekend, and I was watching the race, and I saw something come across my Twitter feed that the Oscars were about to start or something like that. And I had no idea. I don't follow Hollywood anymore. These so-called celebrities are useless to me. They don't offer anything. Most of them aren't even that talented, frankly. And so the whole masturbatory exercise of these award shows is just ridiculous to me. I haven't watched an award show in, I don't know, probably close to 20 years. I may have watched a country music award show here and there, but even those are getting ridiculous. But there was a movie that came out last year called Reagan. It was about Ronald Reagan. It was a biopic, and it was not considered at the Oscars. It didn't get a single nomination. And I haven't seen the movie, so I can't speak to whether or not it actually deserved recognition or not. But the reason why it did not get recognized is utterly, utterly ridiculous. And the reason why is that, let's see if I can find it here. I want to make sure I get it right. Because it failed to meet the judges' DEI standards. And those standards are that, where did it go? Well, basically, I can't find it in this story, but there's a link to that in the show notes as well. 30% of the cast of a movie has to be represented in terms of minorities and the alphabet mafia. This is a biopic. You can't just make Ronald Reagan black. You can't just make historical figures, historical characters black, or turn them homosexual just because it fits some ridiculous diversity requirement. It's utter nonsense. And so then my question is, how did Black Panther get consideration for an Oscar? I'm not sure if these standards were in place when that happened, but Black Panther, which did, I think it won for something and got considered for a whole bunch. By those standards, Black Panther would not have won an Oscar, gotten consideration for an Oscar. And then what? What would have happened then if that I mean, everything about the left is just so incoherent. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't get it. I really, I don't get it. I do not get it. But anyway, all right, y'all. That's it. The left is stupid. The left is insane. The left is incoherent, and that hasn't changed. And as long as it doesn't change, we will be fine. Oh my goodness, these people are ridiculous. Anyway, folks, that's all I got for you this time. I will try to do better on the next one. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, share these episodes. We want to continue to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and the message of hope and liberty to as many people as we possibly can, because we want to preserve what we have for future generations. And if you like the shirt I'm wearing, as I said, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out this design and all the other great designs that we have. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.